I'm Priscilla Barrera with the Investing News Network, and here with me today is Peter Wright, Executive Director of Graphite+Anodes. Peter, thank you so much for joining us today.
Not a problem at all. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so we're here at the Graphite+Anodes conference, which is almost wrapping up. What's your main takeaway so far?
I'd say two, and we come here from a dual perspective, obviously to speak to investors, but at the same time, as a producer now, we come to speak to end users. So on the end user side and marketing our product, we've found the conference enormously helpful, and there is a strong demand out there for producing companies. From an investment perspective, I think there's a shared frustration perhaps with equity market performance in resource space in particular over the last 6 or 7 months. It's for companies without cash flow, your only currency is to issue shares for your development, and so when your share price goes down, the cost of that funding becomes inherently more expensive. So I think from some of our peers, there's been a frustration with the equity market, but I think everyone has a shared optimism on graphite going forward.
All right, and looking back at 2018, what were the main trends you've seen this year in the graphite market? Were there any surprises?
No, we're a pretty conservative group, so we forecast for a $900 basket price. I note some of our developing peers have prices a lot higher than that. We have a large flake concentrates. We're happy to stick with the $900 a tonne. Prices have been quite static. I think that's surprised some people. Our view was that there wasn't going to be a lot of movement this year, and that's been the case.
All right, and what would you say is the biggest misunderstanding in the graphite market? What should investors know about graphite that maybe it's not being talked about enough?
I think there's several misunderstandings, and that's not a commentary on investors. I know when I came to VAS, I thought I knew a little bit about graphite, but actually knew very little at all. I think the first one is the difference in pricing across the various concentrates. So we sell into traditional markets, so we sell jumbo flake, super jumbo, large flake, medium flake, and then a fine flake. The prices for those concentrates are much higher. I almost think about it like an airplane. Super jumbo, and large are first class, business class, premium economy, where the airlines make all their money. Medium flake and fine flake are more your discount tickets from LA to New York in this context, or from Sydney to Melbourne. There's not a lot of margin in that unless you do it at real scale or you're doing a value-added product. The other misunderstanding, I think, as well, is just the difficulty in commercialising projects and financing them. It's a very difficult transition to go from having a series of buried rocks with mineralisation into actually producing a concentrate and selling it. It's a long process.
Here there's been a lot of talk about competing anode technologies, which might not include graphite. What is your take on that? Will graphite continue to be essential for electric car batteries?
I think it will be. I think that most of the major autos have settled on their technology that they're going to use. I'd see graphite being a big part of that. From a VAS perspective, it doesn't affect us as much as others. We have deliberately always aimed ourselves at traditional usage. There will be a small proportion of our product ultimately go to the battery market, so we're cognizant of it and aware of it, but we don't live and die by what happens with fine flake graphite. We'd, of course, like it to be stronger, but it's not as big an issue for us. And even moving beyond that, our value add concentrate that we're looking to do is an expandable, so it's more building related as opposed to battery anode material.
What is your take in the natural versus synthetic debate? Will there be a place for both in the coming years?
Absolutely. I think just the cost of synthetic feed natural and consumers' demands for cheaper and cheaper products, I think there'll always be a very big place for natural graphite in that debate.
All right, and looking ahead, what do you expect for the market next year? Will graphite have a better year, more of the same?
I think it'll be moderately stronger. So the challenge there for producers, prospective and actual, is to reduce your costs. Its margin has two elements to it, cost and price that you receive. So I don't see any great movement in graphite over the next little while. I think the challenge is to have an economic cost. We're a very low-cost producer compared to others. We operate in a low-cost jurisdiction in Madagascar. So, the market does appear balanced. There are several big swing factors. If Syra hits its nameplate capacity, then those finer flake concentrate markets will be very well supplied, and you'd have to think under a bit of pricing pressure. That doesn't affect us as much with large jumbo and super jumbo flake concentrates.
Okay, and now speaking about base metals, what would you say was the most important news for your company this year?
I think that unquestionably was the commissioning of our mine. It's a long process, very rewarding process, very challenging process to take over 2.5 years, and highly undercapitalised mine, effectively rebuild the whole thing, which in fairness have to give full credit to the team for that, led by Tim McManus, our CEO. They've done an amazing job there for us to have almost seamlessly moved to nameplate capacity over the course of a couple of months is a reflection of the hard work that the guys have done on site. We had a really, really good team on site.
Right, and my final question for you today, looking to next year, any company milestones that investors should keep an eye out for or be excited about?
Look, there's several. So it might be, we think we're guiding for to hit profitability in December, which I think will be quite a milestone for us to be a self-sustaining company. We will commence the construction of stage 2 over the next 12 months. We're targeting early 2019 for completion at the end of 2019, start of 2020. So for us to go to 6,000 to 20,000 tonnes will be quite a step up. We feel that the intellectual property and experience gained over doing stage 1 will be absolutely invaluable for stage 2. We've actually constructed a lot of the stage 2 components already: tailings, roads, staff, camp, permitting sorted out. We own the land now. So all those things that can hold projects that we've done, it's just literally building the processing capacity now. So there's that. I know it's a graphite conference, but we are drilling a very exciting lithium project at the moment. We recently tabled a channel intersection of 30 metres at 3.7%, which is unheard of. But it's a surface signature only. We have to drill to find out what's underneath the ground. So look, we have a lot. Over the next 12 months, we'll be publishing a scoping study very soon on our expandable graphite project, or expandable graphite aspirations, and probably a pre-feasibility study over the next 12 months as well. So there's lots to happen for investors. We're in a very solid position operationally and financially now to really take the company forward, and that really starts from now.
All right, Peter, thank you so much for joining us today.
Not a problem at all.